Well, I guess it's time to talk about Mr. Russell Wilson and where he might potentially end up. And a lot of stories are linking him to the Vikings, as it sounds that, well, Russell Wilson might be intrigued by the Vikings because of the weapons he could throw to and stuff like that. Now, I wanted to avoid this topic completely because I hate it. I mean, not necessarily hate it. I just don't like the idea of having Russell Wilson over Kirk Cousins with the Minnesota Vikings. Look, Kirk Cousins has been here for years. He's learned this system under Kevin O'Connell, and he was performing exceptionally well. Back-to-back years. Yes, this year we struggled a lot, but Kirk Cousins was putting up numbers that would have probably been the best in his career. And Russell Wilson, well, it's all about me. Team three. It's all about Russell Wilson. It's never about, oh, how's this guy doing? How's this guy doing? How many touches do you have? You want one more touch? No, it's Russell Wilson, me, me, me. And I hate that, especially in a game of football where you need all 11 players to be on the same page. I mean, there's a piece of our news article that came out, or not an article, but a little piece of news that even Marshawn Lynch didn't have Russell Wilson's number and couldn't contact him because Russell didn't want him to have his number. And that right there was a red flag, okay? He's not a team player. He's all about himself, and that's one big reason I don't want him to be on the Vikings, but we have to bring it up because it is a real possibility. We're going into a season where we're really unsure what the Vikings are going to do at the quarterback position. Are we going to re-sign Kirk Cousins? Are we going to draft a rookie quarterback? And if we do draft a rookie quarterback and we let go of Cousins, why would we sign Russell Wilson to be a bridge quarterback? That just wouldn't make any sense. That'd be a complete waste of money. If you're going to do that, you might as well just throw the rookie out to the Wolves. That's how I look at it, right? So the smart decision, we've already talked about it, sign Kirk to a year, 2-year extension, and then draft a rookie quarterback to learn behind him for that year or 2 years, however long we sign him for. I don't want to go out and get a Russell Wilson who's, wants all the money in the world, all about himself, doesn't really care about anybody else on the team besides how he's doing. I mean, he had his own office in Denver until Sean Payton got there, and Sean Payton shut that down real quick because he said, no, this is about the team, okay? Not about you. You don't run this organization. You don't coach this organization. This is a team sport. So that's a big reason why I don't want Russell Wilson on the Minnesota Vikings, but we have to talk about it just because it is a real thing, like I mentioned earlier. So before we do that, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much appreciated. So all this kind of the intrigued by the Vikings scenario was basically released by Jeremy Fowler on ESPN, and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is reporting that the Vikings could potentially be a target for soon-to-be free agent Russell Wilson, provided that the Vikings don't sign Kirk Cousins to an extension before free agency. Now, before we get any further, Russell Wilson is still a Denver Bronco. The Denver Broncos would have to release him, which means they would have to pay him his full portion of guaranteed money. So he's not technically going to be a free agent. He could end up being a free agent. That's kind of what it's looking like. So this is just all hypothetical here. But here's the report from behind the great ESPN paywall. Is what Jeremy Fowler said. Don't be surprised if Russell Wilson should he become a free agent, is intrigued by Minnesota, assuming Kirk Cousins doesn't re-sign with the Vikings, which is a big question. Now, Kevin O'Connell comes from the Sean McVay passing tree that maximizes quarterback efficiency. Russell Wilson would have plenty of weapons in a group that includes Jay Jettis, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. All right, really unsure about the backfield, but yeah. I would think that a lot of guys would be intrigued by the idea of throwing to those three guys along whoever else the Vikings might add during the offseason. Kind of like how most guys are intrigued by the idea of dating a Hollywood actress, but probably shouldn't expect their phone to ring anytime soon. You're very intrigued by it. Like, oh, yeah, I would love to be dating blah, blah, blah. But you can't expect anything, right? So, yeah, of course, Russell Wilson's going to be intrigued by what the Vikings have offensively and what he might be able to do with the Vikings. But Wilson has fallen out of favor in Denver. The Broncos gave up a ton of draft capital and players to acquire Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks before that 2022 NFL draft. And in his 2 seasons in Denver, Wilson has been less than stellar, okay? Less than stellar. Not great. Sure, some of that had to do with dealing with a disaster that was, the Nathaniel Hackett in his lone season as the Broncos head coach. But it was this past season that the Broncos benched Wilson for the final 2 games of the year because he wouldn't take out his injury guaranteed portion of his contract. They said, hey, if you get rid of this, you can play. All right? But if you don't get rid of this, you're not going to play the final 2 games because we don't want to pay that injury guaranteed. Russell Wilson basically said, yeah, not happen. Okay, I signed that contract. You guys need to abide by it. And the rest is kind of history. So it's seeming as if Russell Wilson's going to be out of Denver once March hits, I believe, is when free agency period comes, or if the Broncos decide to cut him here within the next couple weeks or months or whatever the case may be. But the big thing, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense, okay, for the Vikings to turn to Wilson if they don't bring back Cousins. If you're going to draft a rookie, like I mentioned earlier, and need a bridge quarterback to start while you're getting him ready to go, there wouldn't be any reason to let Cousins walk and then bring in a clear downgrade in Russell Wilson. Sure, Wilson might be cheaper because he's got a lot of guaranteed money coming from the Denver Broncos yet and could, take a smaller deal from his new team. However, since I'm guessing that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah are interested in at least trying to win football games, swapping out Cousins for Wilson would clearly be a step in the wrong direction. Amen. I completely agree with this statement. It would make no sense. If you're going to bring in Russell Wilson and you're still going to draft a quarterback, it would make absolutely zero sense for him to be a bridge quarterback to that rookie. Like I said earlier, if you're going to do that, you might as well just throw the rookie to the wolves, because that's what you're going to do if you have a bridge quarterback. You bring in a guy who already knows the system. You re-sign a guy that already knows the system that Kevin O'Connell runs on offense. Kirk Cousins. He's been there for a couple years now. 2 years under the Kevin O'Connell system. He knows the offense. He knows the players. He knows the chemistries, what they like, what they don't like. That would be the better option to teach a rookie quarterback the ropes. Plain and simple. We need to avoid Russell Wilson at all costs. Maybe a couple years ago, before Kirk Cousins came to Minnesota, sure, I'd be saying, yeah, I would love Russell Wilson on the Vikings. Right now, at the current situation we're at, we shouldn't even think or entertain the idea of Russell Wilson being a Minnesota Viking. I hate it. I don't like it. It shouldn't happen. So I hope it doesn't, because it would make absolutely zero sense, especially if we're going to draft a rookie. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below of what the Vikings need to do. Do you stay away from Russell Wilson, re-sign Kirk Cousins? We've been talked about this ad nauseum for the past, I don't know how many weeks, about who's going to be the new quarterback, but this is one topic I had to bring up even though I didn't want to. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks, and Skol Vikes.